We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Beis Amid Beis and Meseches Bava Metzia. This is Bava Metzia Daf 52b. On the previous summer, there was a machlokas amoraim. Let's say you have a seller that erodes. It erodes more than the amount of ona, but it doesn't erode quite halfway. Are you allowed to keep that coin around or not? And the Gemara now asks a question on this machlokas amoraim from a brisa we quoted on the previous summer. The brisa says, yes or alkain, if it's worth more than that. Now that certainly means it's worth more than halfway, meaning it has not eroded halfway. Mochra b'shavia, so then you're allowed to sell it at value. And the Gemara initially thinks, my lav is it not? Shepichsa yoser michdei ona asa. It's exactly this case. It eroded more than the value of ona, but it did not erode halfway. And so at this point, the brisa seems to be saying you are allowed to keep such a coin around. And the Gemara says, lo, no, Yisera, what it means Yisera is, da'akati lo pichsa bechdei ona asa. It has not even eroded the amount of ona, and that's why mocher b'shavia, that's why you're allowed to sell it. And Rashi says that b'shavia here does not mean at its value, but it means as though it was a regular seller. Rashi here explains, Yeser al kain mocher b'shavia, more than that, you can sell it at value. Le'el katani la, this is the brisa earlier from the previous Amud. Gabe sela shepichsa, we're talking again about a seller that erodes, mocher b'shavia lefi dameh. So initially we say it means that you sell it at value according to what it's worth. V'lo b'yafa, not as though it was a regular seller. Alma mutter l'kaima, the point is you see that you're allowed to keep such a coin around. And the Gemara initially assumes that the case is that it eroded more than the amount of ona. But then the Gemara says, no, yeser al kain means al kedei ona, meaning more, it's worth more than if it would have depreciated the amount of ona, meaning the lo pichsa kedei ona, meaning it has not eroded the value of ona. L'chol chad v'chad kedisle, again, measuring ona according to each Tana as he holds. And then it said mocher b'shavia, so then it said if it has not eroded the value of ona, you can sell it b'shavia, which Rashi says means b'yafa, you can sell it as if it was a regular seller. And the Gemara continues with another question. Meisvei, we have a question from the Brisa. Again, this is from the Brisa above. Ad kama tipaches v'yei rashoy l'kaima. How much does it erode that you're allowed to keep it around? Besela ad shekel. By a seller, if it erodes until a shekel, you can keep it around. Now that sounds like, as the Gemara says, my lav is it not? Tipaches porsa, that it continuously erodes little by little, and you are allowed to keep it around, even though, let's say, it eroded more than the amount of ona, but not quite halfway. Apparently, you are allowed to keep it around. Again, it's a question on the Amora that said in the previous Amud that you are not. And the Gemara says, lo, no, that's not what the Brisa means. Rather, the Brisa means the nofel lenur, that it fell into a fire, the efchos bechad zimna, and in one moment it eroded to that amount. Rashi says, my lav de pichsa porsa doesn't mean it erodes little by little. The kamar mutter l'kaima shekel, it's saying that you're allowed to keep it all the way until a shekel. Alma lo mechlefa b'sela, you see, it won't get confused with a seller. Utziyuvta to Rav Huna, and it seems to be a refutation of Rav Huna. And then again, the Gemara said, no, we're talking about where it erodes in one moment. And the Gemara continues, Amar Mar, the master said, Yikvena v'yitzlena b'tzavar beno b'tzavar bito. If he has this coin that he can't use, he should put a hole in it and hang it by the neck of his son or the neck of his daughter. Uramini, we have the following contradiction. It says, Lo yas and a mishkal bein mishkalosov, he can't make it as a weight among his weights. V'lo yizrokena bein grutosov, he can't throw it among his broken silver vessels. V'lo yikvena v'yitzlena b'tzavar beno b'tzavar bito, he cannot put a hole in it and hang it by the neck of his son or the neck of his daughter. Ela o yishchok o yitoch, rather what he does is either he grinds it or he melts it, or yikots, or he cuts it, or yolach liyam hamelech, or he throws it into the Dead Sea. In other words, the point over here is that he's not allowed to put a hole in it, and we said that he is allowed to put a hole in it. And the Gemara answers, Amar Rav Elazar says, V'amri lo Rav Huna, Amar Rav Elazar, some say Rav Huna says that Rav Elazar says, Lokash, it's not difficult, kan be emtza, if you put a hole in the middle of the coin, that's fine, then it's totally unusable, but kan min atzad, but if you put the hole at the side of the coin, so then already it's possible he can scrape off a little at the side and end up using it, and that's why that is problematic. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Ad masai muter lahachsir, how long does the person have to return the coin? Bekrachim at shayir l'shulchani, in the cities until he can show it to the money changers. Bekfarim at arvei shabbos, in the villages until Erev Shabbos. And the Gemara asks, Ma'ishna besela de maflig, u'ma'ishna betalis de lo maflig. What's the difference that by the coin, by the sela, we make distinctions between the cities and the villages, but by a talis, we don't make a distinction between a city and a village. And the Gemara says, Amar Abaya says, Ki tanan nami masnisin betalis bekrachin tanan. When the Mishnah gave a certain amount of time by the talis, it was talking about in the city, in the village, it would be a different amount of time. Rava Amar Rava says, talis, no, when it comes to a talis, kol inish kimle begava, you could show it to anybody, and they could tell you what the talis is worth, and so therefore it's a standard amount of time, whether in the city or in the village. But Selaba, when it comes to a coin, kevan the lav kol inish kimle begava, since not everybody can evaluate, ela shulchani, only a shulchani can really tell whether a coin is a good coin or not. So hilkach, therefore, bekrachim deiko shulchani, in these cities where there's money changers, ad sheyir l'shulchani, he has the amount of time that he can show it to a shulchani. Bekfarim, but in the villages, the leka shulchani, where you don't have money changers, ad arvei Shabbos is to salkin l'shukah. So then you have to let of Shabbos. That's when a person goes to the marketplace. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Vim hoya makira, if he recognizes the coin, the person who gave him the coin recognizes the coin, afilu lachar shnei masar chodesh. So then, even after 12 months, meaning he should take it back even after a year. The Gemara says, hey, well, where are we talking about? Ibekrachin, if we're talking about the cities, he said the person only has the amount of time to show it to the money changer. And Ibekfarim, if you're talking about in the villages, he said that he only has until Erev Shabbos. So what he's saying over here now, that the person has a whole year. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Chisda says, Midas Chasidus Shanukan. We're talking here about a Midas Chasidus. If the person wants to go beyond the letter of the law, he should take it back even after a year. But the Gemara says, if so, if you're talking about a person who's going beyond the letter of the law, he's doing a nice thing and taking back the coin all the way up until a year. So Ema Sefer, let's look at the end. Let's look as the Mishnah goes on. The Mishnah says, Ein lo olav ela taromis. All he has is a complaint. What do we mean? What does that mean? Laman, who are we talking about? Ila chassid, if we're talking about the chassid, this good person who took back the coin, so lo kibule likva limine. So look, if he's going to complain, it's better that he doesn't take it back from him. Velo taromis tahavale, and then he shouldn't complain. It's better not to take it at all if you're going to take it and start saying bad things about this person. So Viela, rather, what does this line mean? Lahech dekiv lamine means the person who you took it back from, that he has a complaint. Ulavasur the makabla mine taromis tahavale. So what? So after the person already accepted the coin back, now what's he complaining about? What complaint are we talking about? It says that all he has is a complaint. There's nothing to complain about if the person was a chassid and took it back when he didn't even have to. And so the Gemara says, Hachi Kamer, this is what the Mishnah actually means. Ha'acher, another person, Afal B'Sha'in Makabel Heimen. Let's say this person is not a chassid and he doesn't want to take it back. He doesn't want to give this extended period of time. So Ein Lo Olav Ela Taroma. So the person who initially got the coin, he's trying to give it back. All he has really is a complaint. He can complain a little, but there's nothing he can really do about it because the deadline has passed. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, V'nosna l'maiser sheni, you can use such a coin, let's say it eroded the amount of ona, you can use it to redeem maiser sheni. V'eno choshesh, there's no concern with that. She'eno ela nefesh ra, because it's only a bad person who doesn't accept such coins. And the Gemara says, Amar Rapapa says, Shmami, no, we see from the Mishnah, Haiman demukim azuze, somebody who's very strict about not accepting money if it has any kind of flaw, mikri nefesh ra, such a person is called a nefesh ra, that's a bad soul. V'hani milihu desagilu, and that's talking about a coin that is still circulating. If it's a coin that is still able to circulate and the person refuses to accept it because of some flaw, that is a nefesh ra. And the Gemara continues, Mesaya leila Chizkiah, this is a support for Chizkiah. The Amar Chizkiah, because Chizkiah said, Bola porta, if you want to exchange this coin for copper coins, so then porta b'shavya, you have this coin that is slightly eroded, so then you should exchange it for copper coins at whatever its value actually is. But bola chalala, but if you want to use this coin to redeem meiser sheni, mechala b'yafa, you can actually treat it as a regular normal sela that is unflawed, that has not eroded, and you can use it to redeem the Meiser Sheni at that value. And the Gemara says, My Kamar, what exactly is Chizkiah saying? Hachi Kamar, this is what he means to say. Afal pi kashabola porta b'shavya, even though when you want to exchange it for copper coins, you have to do it at its actual value, but nevertheless, kashu mechalala, nevertheless, when he uses this coin to redeem Meiser Sheni, mechala b'yafi, you're allowed to redeem it as if it is a regular sela. And the Gemara asks on this immediately, Lamemer, does that mean to say, the Savar Chizkiah de Mezalzalinen b'Meiser Sheni, that Chizkiah holds that you're allowed to treat Meiser Sheni almost like with contempt? It's as if you're redeeming Meiser Sheni and you're using a coin that's not even the value of the actual Meiser Sheni. That can't be. V'amar Chizkiah, but Chizkiah also said, Meiser Sheni she'ein bo shava pruta. He said, let's say you have Meiser Sheni that's not even worth a pruta. Omer, so then the person can say, Hu v'chomsho, this Meiser Sheni and the added fifth, mechulal almos harishonos, I'm gonna just redeem that on other money of Meiser Sheni, meaning he already had money, that he used that money to redeem Meiser Sheni, and he can assume there's a little extra room of value in that money, because the person can't be exact. Meaning to say, what Chizkiah is saying saying in the second statement is that in general, when a person redeems Meiser Sheni, he always gives a little more money than he needs to, not less money. Here it's saying he actually has more money than he needs to, and that's why if he has a little extra Meiser Sheni, and that extra Meiser Sheni is not worth a pruta, he can just redeem that on the same money because there is a little extra room. And so therefore it seems the exact opposite. From here it seems like Chizkiah would say, you certainly cannot take a coin that has eroded and treat it and consider it as if it was an actual real sella, and essentially redeem Meiser Sheni with a coin that is worth less than the Meiser Sheni. And so the Gemara says, you're right. My b'yafeh, what did Chizkiah mean when he said that you can use this coin and you can redeem it as though it was a yafeh? It just means b'toras yafeh, just like you would use a regular coin that was unflawed to redeem Meiser Sheni, so too you can use this coin to redeem Meiser Sheni, but of course you have to do it at the value of the actual coin. To trei zile lo mezal zelina bei, we're not going to treat it with contempt in two ways. In other words, you can use a coin that's flawed for Meiser Sheni, that we will allow. But to also allow you to use that coin as if it were a perfectly good coin, that we will not allow. And Rashi explains, the trei zile lo mezalzelinan bei, we're not going to treat it with contempt in two ways. The afagav detnan nosen le Meiser Sheni, meaning even though the Mishnah said you can use this coin for Meiser Sheni, chadzi lusa ashminan de mischal al selach asir. So you have a seller that's eroded a little, that we're going to allow, even though that's a zilzal, we're going to allow you to use that coin to redeem the Meiser Sheni. V'lo amrinan hareu kasimon o kemos hanitanos basim, we're not going to say that it's similar to a coin, let's say, without any image that you wouldn't be able to use. Avol trei zile, but to do two acts of contempt. L'chal le Meiser Sheni that you're going to use this coin and treat it as though it was a regular normal seller, unflawed, low, so that we would not allow. And the Gemara continues, Gufa, returning to what we said above. Amar Chizkiah says, Meiser Sheni she'ein bo shava pruta. If you have Meiser Sheni that's not even worth a pruta, Omer hu v'chom shel mechulal al mos rishonos, you can say that this Meiser Sheni plus the additional fifth is going to be redeemed on money that I've already used to redeem Meiser Sheni, because again, there's a little extra room within that money, Lefi sheyefshar lo la'adam letzamsei ma'osav, because it's impossible for a person to be exact. And the Gemara says, Meisvei, we have a question from the following Mishnah Meseches Chala, Hatruma v'habikurim, when it comes to Truma and Bikurim, Chayovin alein Misa, a person is Chayev Misa, that's talking about Misa bidei Shamayim, V'chomesh, and also there's a halacha of a fifth. And Rashi explains Bikurim hukshu l'Truma. Number one, Bikurim is the same as Truma. It's compared to Truma. The Karinu Rachmana Truma, the Torah calls it Truma. The Yamar Mar Trumas Yodchei Bikurim, it says in the pasuk Trumas Yodecha, that refers to Bikurim. Chayovin alein Misa, you're Chayev Misa, meaning Misa bidei Shamayim. Let's say a Zar, let's say a person who's not a Kohen eats it, a Kohen Tameh, or let's say a Kohen who's Tameh, ha'ochlo b'mezid, who eats it b'mezid, he's going to be Chayev Misa bidei Shamayim. V'chomesh, and also there's a fifth, that refers to Zar ha'ochlan b'shogeg. Let's say a non-Kohen eats it by mistake. Dechsiv, it's written Vish ki yochal kodesh b'shgaga, that we learn from the pasuk, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph.